What's up? It's Matt Plapp. We are back with another expert roundup here in the restaurant business. Today we have Aaron Davis, or can I say Aaron? Is that okay?
Hey, Aaron. That's perfectly okay. I actually go by that more than I don't now.
So Aaron, tell us who you are, introduce yourself, your company, and let's dig into your business and what you do in the restaurant world.
Yep, sounds like a plan. So my name is Aaron Davis, as Matt mentioned. I am the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called Sling Scheduling. And we do scheduling and managing workforces all for restaurants around the world. We're in over 100 countries now and been doing that for about 2 years.
Hold on a second. Turn this phone
We're
off.
good.
There we go. So scheduling, now when you say scheduling, you mean the online element, an app? Talk about that a little.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a little bit of both. So we have app-based, we have a kiosk-based, and then a web-based as well. And so the web-based is for admins, managers to really manage schedules, tardy reports, labor costs, sales, all sorts of good things. And then on the employee side, we have an app as well as a kiosk in case you want like a stationary workstation for people to log into and whatnot as well.
So does it help with, from the app standpoint, I'll get into the specifics on this one, but does it help with people calling off or needing to change or swap shifts?
Absolutely. Yep. So we have shift swapping, unavailability. So you can log in real quickly, get alerts on when somebody calls in sick. And of course, with this last year with COVID and everything, that's definitely something that happens often, right? And so really being able to swap shifts, hey, I need something covered, and you don't really know who to go to. Well, you could just go straight to the availability section, see who's available, swap a shift with them and give somebody else that money and make sure everything's operating smoothly.
So tell me if this would be a lot easier with your world. I was talking to a restaurant recently, and they have 128, I think was the number, employees, and they have a group text.
Yeah.
But apparently, and I'm like, what do you mean you have a group text? And he's like, well, if Peggy can't work tomorrow, she'll go in the text and type, I can't work tomorrow. And I'm like, so then 128 people get a text? Like, yeah. It was like 30 will reply real quick. We're trying to figure out who's got it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's got to be something better.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. And that's actually more common than you'd think, which is shocking. I mean, people have used workaround after workaround after workaround for this stuff, and text threads, like you mentioned, with 128 people, it's 2 a.m. and somebody gets sick and you're getting blown up with, 60 messages. It's just not sustainable. So yeah, it's a perfect solution for things like that. And it's a very common use case in the restaurant world.
So how did Get Sling get started?
Yeah, great question. So we actually, we were based out of Iceland, believe it or not. So we weren't a US based company to start. We branched off of a company called Gongverk, which was a dev shop in Reykjavik, and they would build apps and whatnot for clients. And Sling became a brainchild out of that. And we, through an office in New York, our CEO and now our chief product officer moved to New York, started knocking doors on restaurants and really just interviewing people. We were a free service, and we still are actually. For a number of years. And, that's really how we gained knowledge in the restaurant space and really made sure that this fit the needs of restaurant owners all around the world. And so that was about 6 years ago. And, since then we've added new features and functionalities, and there's obviously paid plans at this point, but there's still a free service, which is the bulk. I mean, the free service is what replaces Google Calendar and all these other services that people are trying to work around to manage their staff.
So are the founders CrossFitters? Because I own a CrossFit gym, and all I know about Iceland is all the dominant CrossFitters, the Thor's daughters, and all that.
Right? Yeah, the strong people of the world. Yeah. A lot of them are runners. I mean, they're all thin, fit, active people, but we definitely have a few CrossFitters on the team, no doubt.
So you said Chief Revenue Officer, correct?
Correct.
So talk about your role and what you do in the business.
Yeah. So my role is just making sure that from the whole customer journey, from the experience when you first find our website or hear about us, whether it's on social or email, or our biggest driver since the beginning has been word of mouth. Our main focus has been to make a product that's so excellent that restaurant owners can't help but talk about it, right? And so that's been our main driver. And so making sure that experience as well, all the way from when they hit our website, that they have an excellent experience on the website, that they also are getting an amazing experience in sales. We have a sales team here in Boise, Idaho, that makes sure that everybody, it's very consultative. It's not pressured sales. We really want to help restaurants, especially after this last year, succeed. And so my job is making sure that whole path all the way to customer retention and making sure their long-term customers is fluid and efficient and effective for every party involved.
What do you think is you mentioned what's happened in the past, 9-10 months, what's been the biggest thing that you've seen that the software has helped? Is it just the flexibility and the on the fly use of it, or?
Yeah, absolutely. One interesting use case that came out of that we couldn't really foresee was, tracing, COVID tracing, and being able to see, if you have multiple locations or if you have a larger restaurant and somebody tests positive for COVID, you can see which room, or they were working in the back bar, or, the back room, or they were in the office, or they were out on the floor, whatever it may be. You can track where that employee was working in their specific department, and really be able to make sure that everyone else that was associated with that person stays safe, right? So that's been a really interesting use case. But then, of course, like we just mentioned, the shift swapping and availability and people calling out sick, and that's a long period now. That used to be a 3-day issue. Now it's a 14+ day issue, right? And so being able to make sure that everybody and all the staffing needs are filled, even if you're bringing in like temporary staffing, and being able to get them quickly on a platform on your schedule without having to spend 15 hours figuring out spreadsheets or text groups, like you mentioned, whatever it may be. It just makes that process and that headache so much easier. Because, as we both know, restaurant owners, their dream was to start a restaurant and be in the food business and the people business and deliver excellent experiences, not so much to manage workforces and softwares and billing and accounting and payroll and labor costs and all these things, right? And so our mission and our goal is really to make the restaurant life, the scheduling life, stress-free, and take that off restaurant owners' plates.
So you mentioned something we hadn't talked about yet, was the payroll aspect of it. Because going back to my days, you don't know me that well from my background, but we had a boat and RV dealership for 10 years. And my wife did the payroll, and it was funny. Every week, Friday afternoon, she's like, Matt, Eric hasn't clocked out in 5 days. I have no clue how many hours he works. He clocks in every week. He never clocks out. And it was always a headache because she was literally chasing the mechanics and parts people down to say, hey, what time did you clock out last Wednesday? I don't know. I think maybe 6, 8, 9. I mean, it was just comical. So I'm guessing this brings some of that and kind of transfers it into the payroll world as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. And so what we found, and the American Payroll Association matches this data, is 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. If you don't have a very specific time tracking process and software, those 5 to 15 minutes add up. When you're spending, $8, $10, $15 an hour, whatever it may be on your employees, that adds up very quickly when you have 30 employees, even 10 employees, and every dollar counts, right? And so this makes sure there's like geofencing, for example. You can't clock in unless you're at the location. Shift reminders and clock out reminders and all of these things. And also the editability, being able to see, this person actually left the facility at this time based on whatever it may be. They used the kiosk, or their geofence tracked it, or whatever it may be. And really just eliminates that 5 to 15 minutes that adds up on the beginning of a shift and end of a shift to make sure your labor costs are accurate. And then in addition to that, being able to make sure that labor costs matches up with your sales for that shift or that day, make sure you're tracking profitable.
Yeah, and you're right. It does add up. We have a handful of virtual employees that work through some software that tracks their screen usage. And when I first heard that, I never really comprehended how often you get up and do something, or how you get distracted. And I remember looking at the software, and it would show like a 15-minute clip. Now, this isn't what you guys do, but it would show like a 15-minute clip in the middle of the day when this person wasn't active, their mouse wasn't moving.
Yep.
And you don't think that's a big deal, but when you start thinking about 10, 15, 20 people, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 52 weeks a year, that's a big deal. And I'm sure, there's a lot of employees. I remember, Eric was the specific employee for us. It was ironic, his issue with clocking out. He was staying till like 2 a.m. He had a key to our building, and he would stay till 2 a.m. He said he would feel guilty getting paid till 2 a.m. because he would work like 70 hours, that he didn't want to clock out because he didn't want to like get us pay him too much. Which I'm like, you're working, you should get paid. But that was a different story. But he also was a habitual in his car in the parking lot talking to his girlfriend for a half hour. But I got here at 8. Like, no, you didn't, bro. You walked in at like 9:45.
Yeah. It's an easy thing to do, and it's an easy thing to oversee. I mean, especially when you have a million things going on in the restaurant world. I mean, it's such a busy life, right? And so you really just want to take all that stuff off your plate and trust the data. You need to trust that your costs are accurate, and not necessarily pinching pennies, but make sure they're true.
So, what do you think is the coolest feature of the platform that you really like the most, that you think makes the most sense for restaurants?
Yeah, I mean, since we're catered to restaurants, it's hard to pull one out of there because it's really use case oriented. Everybody's a little different. If you're a multi-location restaurant, being able to see all locations in one place and be able to toggle between the two and see reports for each is great. But if you're a single shop, really the core of obviously our platform is scheduling, and that's got to be the coolest feature. And that's what's offered for free, which is awesome. So, you really can get in there and do everything you need to at no cost. And I think that, with our mission and our goal of making sure everybody lives a stress-free life in the restaurant world, it has to be the coolest, because I really have seen over the last couple of years restaurant owners' lives being changed on a day-to-day basis because of that.
Okay. So last question. What's something you saw the past 12 months in the restaurant business that was kind of outside of, you do a lot of restaurants, that was outside of your daily life that made you smile, that just one of the reasons to stay in the business and to work with restaurant owners?
Yeah. Tenacity. I mean, really, it's been really cool to see the tenacity of these owners, adjusting and pivoting on different things needed, right? I mean, we need so many more safety protocols. We need to not be able to fill your whole restaurant floor. You got to have spaced tables. You have to have masks and plexiglass and all these things. And the tenacity of these owners is just amazing to see these guys really step up to the plate and get stuff done for the safety of others, while maintaining their business, because both are important. And it's been really cool to see, and really cool to help with that. We were able to implement some sort of help with these individuals. If somebody came to us and said, we're closing for 6 months because of COVID or an indefinite period of time, we don't want them to leave our platform, because someday they're going to open up back again, hopefully. And so we gave it to them for free for, even on their paid plans for a number of months. And so we want to respect and honor that tenacity that restaurant owners bring. It's really amazing to see.
No, you're spot on. And I was actually listening to a little miniature clip last night on Instagram. Got him Brad Lay. I don't know if you ever seen him or not. It might be Brad Lee. I always call it Lay, but he talks about a lot of business entrepreneur stuff. And he said, when you go to the gym, if you go in there and lift little weights and don't really push yourself, you don't expand, you don't grow. If you go in there and you do the heaviest possible curls and bench press and squats that you can, your body is forced into being uncomfortable, and you grow and you get better and bigger and stronger. And as many people looked at 2020 as a terrible year, this might be weird. I looked at it as a great year, because we had a lot of easy years. I'm 44 years old. I've had a couple years that have sucked, in my adult life. I've had a lot that have been great. And the ones like last year forced you, like you said, to persevere, to be creative, to be on the ball, to work more and more and more. Probably the only negative was, or one of the big negatives, a lot of restaurateurs didn't get a chance to work on themselves last year because they were working in the business so much more than normal. But they were able to adapt. I mean, it's only going to get easier the next couple of years. And if you can take some of those efficiencies you learned last year and move them into future years, it's going to pay dividends. It's
very true. That's an excellent point and spot on.
So how can restaurateurs, or any small business for that matter, reach out? Because I'm guessing you guys deal with outside of restaurants as well, right?
We do. Yeah, we're very industry agnostic. I think scheduling is in need of many. It's really our focus is non-desk working employees, but restaurants been one of our main focuses over the last 6 years. So finding us, go to getsling.com. You can message me on LinkedIn, whatnot. Be happy to share a little bit about what we're doing and go from there.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. Appreciate you what you've done for the restaurant business, because exactly what you said. There was a lot of restaurants last year that weren't open. So why are you paying for software? We were the same way. We have some softwares of our marketing programs that we had clients who are like, they have no use for it for a couple months, but we want to make sure they come back and get rocking again. But appreciate all you did for the restaurant business. And I've been following you on LinkedIn, and I see what you guys do. And Get Sling's a great product.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you for your time today.
Hey, thank you. See you later.
All righty. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.